This is what we are building today, an athlete profile card using HTML and CSS, no frameworks. Right now, 8 athletes are going to the starting line in a 100-meter sprint event. When a sprinter runs a 10.45 seconds in the race, where does the result go? A PDF, maybe a social media post, their friends scroll past it, maybe nowhere. Athletes train for years to shave off milliseconds. They deserve better than a spreadsheet. They deserve this. I'm going to show you exactly how to build this. Step by step, beginner friendly, let's go. Before we write any code, we need a code editor. If you have already set up, skip ahead. Timestamps are in the description. A code editor is just a text editor built for programmers. Syntax highlighting, autocomplete, error detection. I use VS Code. It's free, it's powerful, and it is what most developers use. Download it from code.visualstudio.com. Install it, open it. I am using Windows, so I will download for Windows. For Mac or Linux, click other platforms, and it should provide you the download for different systems. Afterwards, click Open File. Ensure you read and accept the agreement. Click Next for destination and setup. Ensure you click Create a desktop icon. Next, we need a folder for the project. Create a new folder. Name it Athlete Card. Drag it into VS Code or click Open Folder and select it. Add-ons that make coding easier. Click the extensions icon. Looks like building blocks. Search Live Server and install it. This lets us see our changes instantly in the browser. Next, search Live Preview. Same idea, but shows the preview right inside VS Code. Now, these extensions are optional, but nice to have. The first one is RU for a clean color theme and a file icon theme to make your sidebar look better. All right, new file, index.html. First thing, the HTML boilerplate, exclamation mark, tab, done. This gives us our basic structure. You might be wondering what is doc type and why HTML5. Doc type tells the browser what version of HTML we are using. HTML has evolved over the years. HTML5 is the current standard. It's what everyone uses now. This HTML tag with lang equals n tells the browser this page is in English. Screen readers use this to pronounce the words correctly. Search engine uses it to serve your page to the right audience. It contains metadata, stuff the browser needs but doesn't display. Charset UTF-8 is the character encoding. It tells the browser how to read text. This viewport line makes your page responsive on mobile devices. Without it, your site looks tiny on phones. Body is everything visible on this page. All your content goes here. Earlier, we installed both Live Server and Live Preview. Let's try the Live Preview. What we will do is right-click the index.html and click Show Preview. What it does, it opens the tab within VS Code. And here it is, white space. Now, let's change the title to Athlete Profile Card. That's what shows in the Browser tab. And just like that, we are actively creating the structure of the Athlete Profile Card. Now let's talk HTML. HTML uses tags, instructions wrapped in angle brackets. Most tags come in pairs, an opening tag, content, closing tag with a slash. Some tags are self-closing, like images, no content inside, just attributes. Here's what you need to know. Header, main, footer. These define your page sections, the top, the middle, the bottom. H1 through H6 for headings. H1 is the biggest. H6 is the smallest. One rule. Your page should only have one H1. That's your main title. Search engines and screen readers look for that. H2 through H6 can repeat as many times as you need. Just keep them in order. Don't skip from H1 straight to H4. Think of it like a book. One title, multiple pages, multiple sections within chapters. P for paragraphs, your standard text content. Div and span, these confuse beginners. Div is a block container. It stacks vertically. Use it for sections and grouping elements. Span is an inline container. It flows within text. Use it when you want to style part of a sentence without breaking the line. Now here's something important. Tags can go inside other tags. This is called nesting. It creates a hierarchy, a family tree of elements. Think of it like boxes inside boxes. The body is the biggest box. It holds everything. Inside body, we put main. That's a smaller box. Inside main, we put article, even smaller. Inside article, we put our content, images, paragraphs, divs. The outer element is called the parent. The inner element is called the child. So main is the parent of article. Article is the child of main. And article is the parent of the paragraph inside it. Now, some of these tags are what we call semantic HTML. Semantic means meaningful. A div says nothing about what's inside. It's just a box. But header, that tells the browser and search engines this is the top section. Article, this is self-contained content. So why does semantic HTML matter? Accessibility, search engine optimization or SEO, and code clarity. Accessibility. Screen readers use these to help visually impaired users navigate. SEO. Search engines understand your page better. Code clarity. Other developers instantly know what each section does. Use semantic tags whenever you can. And now comments. Notes to yourself what browsers ignore. Control/ on Windows, Command/ on Mac. Best practice, think about the structure first, then write the code. What sections do we need? Let's sketch it out. We need a header for the page title, a main section for our cards, a footer for credits, header with a H1 tag, athlete profile card, and a P tag for the subtitle, 2026 season. See how the H1 and P are inside the header. They are children of header, main section, but I want to add a class to it. Class equals container. You may be wondering, what's a class? A class is like a label. It lets you target elements in CSS. You can use the same class on multiple elements. There's also ID. Same concept, but IDs must be unique. Only one element per ID on a page. The rule of thumb, use classes for styling, IDs for JavaScript or anchor tags. For this project, we'll use classes. Inside main, an article with class card for each athlete. Article is semantic HTML. It means self-contained content, perfect for a profile card. So our hierarchy now. Body contains main, main contains article. Let me add comments as I build this. We want athlete's image, athlete's name, athlete's club, event badge, stats for age and category, personal best label. First, the image. We use a self-closing image tag. SRC, short for source, tells the browser where to find the image file. Alternative text, describes the image for screen readers and displays if the image fails to load. Always include this for accessibility. Width and height sets the image dimensions in pixels. Adding these prevents layout shift while the page loads. Next, a P tag with class athlete name for the athlete's name. Another P tag with class club name for the club. For the event badge, we use a span tag with class event. Span because it's a small label, not a section. Now the stats. We use a div with class stats as the container. Inside, two more divs. One for age, one for category. Nested again. See the structure? Stats div is the parent. The age div and category div are its children. For personal best, a P tag with class PB. This is the star of the card, the big number. And below it, another P tag with class PB label for the label tags. Notice the win reading in parentheses, plus 0.2. That's real athletics data. The time only counts as legal if the win is under 2.0 meters per second. Details like this matter. Let me duplicate this card for our second athlete and third athlete. And finally, the footer, Built with Love by Sports Developer. Right now, this looks like nothing special, just text on a white page. Let's add CSS to make it look good. But for learning, keep everything in one file. Makes it easier to see cause and effect. We'll use a style tag in the head. And comments in CSS, different from HTML. HTML uses angle brackets with exclamation and dashes. CSS uses /*/. I'll add comments to organize our CSS section. First, a reset. Star selector targets everything on the page, every single element. Margin 0, padding 0, box sizing, border box. Why do we reset? Every browser has its own default style. We zero everything out and control the spacing ourselves. But what are margins and padding? This is the CSS box model. Picture a long jumper who just landed. The athlete crouched in the sand. That's your content, the thing that matters. The sand surrounding them, that's padding. Space inside the pit, giving the athlete room to land safely. The visible boundary wrapping around the sand and the athlete. The track surface surrounding the pit, that's margin. Space separating this pit from the runway. Box sizing, border box, makes width calculations easier. Padding won't add to your element's total size. Now we start clean. Consistent across all browsers. Body gets our dark background, hex color, #111, almost black. White text, #FFF. Arial font with sans serif as fallback. 20 pixels of padding. That's the sand around our content. Keeping it off the edges. And line height 1.6. Gives text room to breathe. Lines aren't cramped together. Now let's style the header. Header, text align center to center our text. Margin bottom, 40 pixels to add space below it. H1, font size, 40 pixels for our main title. Margin bottom, 8 pixels. Now watch this. I'm writing header P, not just P. This targets paragraphs only inside the header. Color, #AAA for the muted gray. Font size, 18 pixels. Typography matters. Bigger text equals more important. Our H1 is 40 pixels. It demands attention. Now let me show you a problem. Our cards are stacked vertically. That's the default behavior. Block elements stacked on top of each other, like boxes in a pile. But we want them side by side. We want a grid. CSS Grid is a 2D layout system. It handles rows and columns at the same time. Think of it like a running track with no lane lines, just empty red surface. When we add display to grid, the structure appears, like lane lines painted on a track. The track creates the structure. The lanes exist before the athletes step in. That's what grid does. It creates the structure, then items fill in. Grid template columns define how many columns and how wide. Remember, we target the class with a dot container. First, max width, 1200 pixels. This stops our content from stretching too wide on big monitors. Margin, 0, auto. 0 on the top and bottom, auto on left and right. Auto means the browser calculates equal space on both sides. That's how we center things horizontally. Display grid, this is the magic line. It turns our container into a grid. Now we define the columns. Grid template columns, repeat, auto fit, min max, 280 pixels, 1FR. That's a lot. Let me break it down. Min max, 280 pixels. 1FR means each column is at least 280 pixels wide, but can grow to fill available space. 1FR means one fraction of the remaining space. Auto fit means create as many columns as can fit. One more property. Gap, 24 pixels. This adds breathing room between the cards. Without it, they would be touching edge to edge. Now, let's style the cards themselves. Dot card. Background color, #222. Slightly lighter than the body's #111. This subtle contrast makes the card stand out from the background. Padding, 24 pixels. Remember our box model? This is the sand around our content. Space inside the card, keeping everything off the edges. Now, border radius. By default, elements have sharp 90-degree corners. Border radius rounds them off. A small value like 12 pixels gives you soft, rounded corners. The card still looks like a rectangle, just friendlier. But crank it up to 50%, you get a perfect circle. We'll use that for the athlete photo in a moment. Border radius, 12 pixels for our card. Softens the corners without going full circle. Text align center. Everything inside the card centers horizontally. Now the athlete image. Dot card img. This is a nested selector. It means target img elements that are inside elements with class card. Remember our parent-child relationship? Card is the parent. Image is the child. This selector styles only children images, not every image on the page. Width 100 pixels, height 100 pixels, a perfect square. Now, here's where border radius gets interesting. Border radius 50%. When you set border radius to 50% on a square, each corner rounds so much they meet in the middle. Object fit cover. This is important. Without it, your image might squash or stretch to fit the 100 by 100 box. Cover says, scale the image to fill the space. Crop what doesn't fit, but never distorts. Margin bottom, 16 pixels, space below the image. Dot athlete dash name. Font size 24 pixels, nice and prominent. Font weight, bold, make it stand out. Margin dash bottom, 4 pixels, small gap before the next line. Dot club dash name. Font size 16 pixels, smaller than the name. Color hash AAA, that muted gray again. Secondary info, present but not competing. Margin dash bottom 16 pixels, space before the event badge. The event badge. This shows the athlete specialty. Dot event. Background color hash 444, a medium gray that stands out from the darker card background. Color hash FFF for white text. Now padding, but notice I'm writing two values, not one. Padding 8 pixels, 20 pixels. First value is top and bottom, second value is left and right. Border radius 20 pixels, high enough to fully round that short edges into a pill. Now display inline block. This is important. By default, a span is inline. It flows with text, but ignores padding and width. Font size 14 pixels, smaller than body text. It's a label, not a headline. Font weight 600, semi-bold. 600 sits between normal and bold, gives it emphasis without shouting. Margin bottom 20 pixels, space below before the stats section. Inside each card, we have stats, age, and category. Right now, they are stacked vertically. That's the default. Block elements stacked like boxes. But we want them side by side. This is where Flexbox comes in. Now we just use grid for our card layout. So what's the difference? Grid creates structure first. It's 2D, rows and columns at the same time. Flexbox is different. It's 1D, one direction at a time, either horizontal or vertical. Think of it like a relay team in the staging area, all bunched together, waiting. Stacked up, when we add display flex, they line up in a row. Flexbox default is horizontal. Justify content tells Flexbox how to distribute space. Justify content, space around, tells them to spread out evenly. Equal space around each item. Margin 20 pixels, 0. That's 20 pixels, top and bottom. 0 left and right. Space above and below the stats row. And the personal best. This is the star of the card. The number everyone looks at. .pb. Font size 30 pixels. Big. This is the most important information on the card, so it gets the biggest text. Font weight bold. Extra emphasis. Color hash 4ADE80. That bright green. Why green? Green means achievement, success, personal best. In athletics, a PB is a celebration. Margin 8 pixels, 0, 4 pixels. 3 values this time. First value 8 pixels top. Second value 0, left and right. Third value 4 pixels bottom. .pb label. Color hash 888, medium gray, even more muted than our hash AAA from earlier. Font size 14 pixels, small and subtle. The label says personal best. It supports the number but doesn't compete with it. The number is the hero. The label is the sidekick. Big green number, subtle gray label, instant hierarchy. The card looks good, but it feels static, dead. There's something satisfying about interactivity. When you hover and something responds, it tells the user, this is alive, this is clickable, pay attention to me. Let's add that life. First, we add a transition property to our existing .card styles. Transition, transform 0.3 second ease. Box shadow 0.3 second ease. What does this do? Transition tells the browser, when these properties change, don't snap instantly. Animate smoothly. Animate any transform changes over 0.3 seconds. Box shadow 0.3 second ease. Animate any shadow changes over 0.3 seconds. Ease means start slow. Speed up, then slow down at the end. Natural movement. .card, hover. The hover is a pseudo class. Pseudo means fake or temporary. Hover means when the mouse is over this element. Transform, translate Y, -6 pixels. Translate Y moves the element vertically. Negative moves it up. Positive moves it down. -6 pixels lifts the cards up slightly. Box shadow 0, 8 pixels, 20 pixels, RGBA 255, 0, 0, 0.3. Watch what happens. The card rises. The shadow appears beneath it. Smooth, responsive, alive. That's 4 lines of CSS, but it transforms the entire feel of the interface. Static becomes interactive. Let's do the same for the event badge. In our existing .event styles, we add transition, all 0.3 second ease. Notice I wrote all instead of listing specific properties. All means animate any property. .event, hover. Background, color, gold. Changes from gray to gold. Eye-catching. Color, #111. Dark text for contrast against the bright gold background. White text on gold would be harder to read. Transform. Translate Y, -2 pixels. Subtle lift. Only 2 pixels because the badge is small. The card lifted 6 pixels because it's larger. Box shadow 0, 4 pixels, 12 pixels. RGBA 255, 215, 0, 0.4. Gold badge, gold glow, cohesive. Watch the badge. Now the badge pops to gray to gold. Quick footer styles. Text align center, margin top 80 pixels for breathing room. Color #666, even more muted than the subtitle. The footer should never compete with the main content. If you learned something today, subscribe. I'm posting more sports dev tutorials. Drop a comment. Tell me what sport you want to see built next. If this helps you understand CSS even a little bit better, hit that like button. It helps more people find this. I'm a sports developer. Let's solve sports problems using programming.